John Lamson, and this is the Village of North Bennington Trustees meeting for April 7th, 2020. It is 7:03, and we'll call the meeting to order. This is a virtual meeting on Zoom. Oh, hold on just a second. Okay, so I'm going to start that over actually. I know that Cat TV is broadcasting this and recording it, but I failed to hit record on my button. So this is the Village of North Bennington Trustees meeting for April 7th, 2020. It's 7:03 in the evening, and we have a quorum, and so we'll call the meeting to order. We are having a virtual meeting through Zoom, and anyone is welcome to join by accessing the platform via a web link and or telephone number, which was provided in the warning in the newspaper today, as well as hopefully by email or some other method of your getting it by virtue of the fact that you're here. We do not intend to take any major action this evening other than just our regular monthly business, due to the fact that this is the first time that we've done a virtual meeting, and we don't want to bite off more than we can chew here, especially if there's any difficulties with people getting access. So the agenda, which I have here in front of me. So the first item on the agenda that I wanted to address was the technical aspects of the Zoom meeting. So if you do have this up and running on your computer, on your lower left-hand corner of your screen, you should be able to see a mute and a stop video function so that you can turn your video on and off, or you can turn your sound on and off. If you press that mute, that means we can't hear you though. So if you want to ask a question or make a comment, you can just make sure to press unmute before you start talking. I will not, in some meetings, the host will mute all other participants in order to make sure that the sound quality is good. I'm not going to do that because I think this is a public meeting and that I should be able to get a warning from people. So I would just please ask that people try to eliminate background noise, or not try, or just try not to talk over one another if possible. The other functions here are, there is a chat function, which I haven't disabled, but I would ask you just to use the verbal or the video function as opposed to the chat, just to make sure everybody gets what we're saying. And let's see. The top. If you go to the top right of your screen, there's a speaker view and there's also a gallery view. And the speaker view should automatically go to the person who's talking, but hold on just a second. There we go. Sorry about that. So in the gallery view, you should be able to see all the participants, and sometimes that's easier if multiple people are talking on an issue. Okay, so if anybody has any questions, I can try to answer them. I'm not really an expert in this either, but we'll try to do our best. So two other meetings besides our regular meeting have been rescheduled to this evening. And our intention was to reschedule those meetings. So because we are in the midst of this crisis, I do not want to have the annual meeting of the Village of North Bennington via Zoom tonight, especially given, we've only got a dozen people here. I think that we may need to consider having the meeting virtually, but I'd like to have at least a few weeks of lead time to make sure that everybody knows that we're doing that well ahead of time and has all the information so that it's not a last minute thing. So what I would like to do first,
Yeah, it's going on. I'm looking. I can see folks.
Come on down.
I'd like to do first is to.
That's okay. I'll keep playing. I got to use this for school board.
We can hear you, Leon.
We don't care if you
We
get.
got you, Leon.
Well, I'm looking, trying to see how to get this to work. Yes, but I'm
I'm
just.
saying you're wasting time, losing time. It's already after 7.
Oh, this meeting, no.
Oh, I'm saying you're losing time. If that's what you're
Okay,
saying.
if
The meeting has started.
yeah, Mr. Johnson, we've got you on audio but not video. So if you want to try to get the video going, that's great. Otherwise, we can just we can hear you fine. So you could participate through the audio link. What I would like to do at this time, since I think we have at least 2 members of the public, is I would entertain a motion to continue the annual meeting to a date certain, which would be May 12th, 2020 at 7 p.m. So that would be next month's regular meeting. And then hopefully we can get enough warning ahead of time, anticipating that it would be another Zoom call like this, but maybe have more participation.
I would make that motion, John.
Okay,
I'll second it.
so we have a motion and a second, but I think that for purposes of this motion, it might. Yeah, sorry. It might be best to have 2 citizens make these motions and second as opposed to a board member.
Yep.
And I think if I didn't anticipate having a child jump out, but Mrs. Lamson, would you be available to either make or second the motion here? And how about Mr. Tenentes, would you be able to
Yeah,
either make a motion or second a motion for that?
I got no voice.
I'm assuming that's something that it can be done. I'm not
So-
familiar with the rules of order and the bylaws of the trustees board.
So
But
this
if
would
it
be-
is indeed something that I'm able to do and we require that in order to effectively move the annual meeting to that date of May 12th as specified, then I will move that we consider doing so.
Okay, that sounds good to me. As long as it's within so the motion would be, as long as it's within the legal rules to do so, that Alex Tenentes moves to move the annual meeting to May 12th, 7 p.m. at the depot offices. And
Per your recommendation.
for my recommendation, sure.
Dr.
Yeah,
Tenentes.
Right, yes, I understand.
Point of order, is Alex a member of, does he live in the community?
Yes, he's right on Mechanic Street, yep.
Thank you. I wasn't sure.
Mhm.
So we need a second and maybe,
I second.
thank you, Kate.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. So is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor of moving the annual meeting to May 12th, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Is there any opposed? Okay, so the annual meeting has been postponed a month at this point. Thank you very much. And the other item that we had continued to this date, thank you. was the public hearing on a proposed mobile communication tower for 56 Mechanic Street. And this is a meeting that the board has scheduled, so the board would be able to adjust that. And what we're proposing to do with that communication tower meeting is postpone that meeting indefinitely. And the reason behind doing that is that we have found, we have got information about a proposal for another location for a tower that apparently is in a somewhat advanced stage. It's not just talk. It's, you know, it's more formal than that. And we want to make sure that we're not moving forward on a cell phone tower that's just going to duplicate one that is in, you know, is thinking about being put up very close by. So we're pursuing that with the other entity, which, because it's a contract, they don't want to make the parties public at this stage, but we're going to be in contact with them. And if for some reason their proposal doesn't provide the same kind of coverage that this one would, or doesn't happen, then we may revisit this issue, but we don't feel that it's in the village's best interest to duplicate services if they're going to be provided through another means. So again, I guess as I'm just doing that, as I received most of the information, so I apologize for being the one that's talking all the time. I'm supposed to direct the meeting, not, you know, be talking all the time, but that's the information. So if there is a proposal to postpone that meeting indefinitely, we would have to re-warn and notice the public hearings for that all over again if we were going to consider moving forward on a lease at a later date. But we do not. I think that we would move into basically an unspecified time at this point, because we don't know what the time.
So John, I would make the motion to postpone indefinitely. Was that the term?
Yes.
The hearing or the discussion with the previous group regarding cell tower development until further notice.
And that's the key, is that there would be further notice if there were another meeting on this. And especially we would have the people who were here and that were interested in this issue, we would make sure that you all know if there were another meeting coming up in the next few months.
I make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Is there any discussion on that motion? And that can be from either the board or any citizen that's interested in this issue.
Well, I have a question, if I may ask Alex or Tenentis. I would be curious as to whether or not the other proposal is within the confines of North Bennington Village. Because if it's within the confines of North Bennington Village, it may still have some impact on properties and individuals. But if it's not involving the trustees, then as was stated, I think, in last month's meeting, it could be the result of a private enterprise, a private deal and contract. So to postpone the meeting indefinitely for the proposed Mechanic Street cell tower may be all well and good, but maybe a moot point if the alternative deal that's in the works a little further down the road than the initial offering is something that is still within North Bennington.
So it,
I ask you to divulge anything if it's something that is a private deal. You know, I don't expect you to do that.
No,
But
right, so that's and we did discuss that at the last meeting, is that the only reason that the trustees were involved at this point was because they're proposing to do this on municipal land. And
Right.
at this point, the transaction that they're looking at is not on municipal land. So it's not a trustee issue, so we're postponing our involvement. However, we wouldn't postpone our involvement if the coverage wasn't going to be substantially overlapping. You know, in other words, if they were going to put up a tower over in New York that didn't really affect us, then we'd continue to look at this issue because that wouldn't affect the coverage here. But this proposed plan is going to affect the coverage in North Bennington. So we want to see what that looks like first before we take any action on the municipal side. However, I'll just remind you again, though, is that any private cell tower would have to go through the development review board process, and there would be a meeting of the development review board on that issue where
Have an audio, you want that.
it's on your phone.
so I guess my question
I'm
would,
finna do it. It's on your phone or it's on the,
It's on.
as an addendum, I would inquire as to whether or not the interests of the village are protected in any way. Is it something that falls upon the citizens or upon the trustees to make sure that anything that does occur within the borders of our village gives us that opportunity to have a shield of protection? Somebody's got our backs. The agreement that was alluded to last meeting had some provisos that were stipulated by one of the presenters in order to cover Verizon, that they would, in some way, their interests were taken into account, which made sense. But someone has to have the interest of the citizenry in account. I'm assuming it's trustees, but does it become something that the citizens at large have to take care of, especially if it turns out to be something where the development board, is that what you call it, that it was going to deal with it? Are they just making sure that all T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted according to what is legally mandated, as opposed to what the populace would accept and desire within their neighborhood or the village? So I'm still a little confused about that, and I know you can't be divulging any details, but in other words, I'm concerned about going from the pan to the fire, moving from one pan to another. And it's nice that we have moved and have voted to move the meeting for the original cell tower plan or proposal to an indefinitely postponed date. I still had issues. I had the same questions. I had the same concerns. If it's not 56 Mechanic Street, is it being moved to 62 Mechanic Street? That sort of thing. So are we still talking the proximity effect? Are we still talking within 300, 500 meters, etc.? So I don't want to monopolize time, so I'm going to stop there, but hopefully you can test it or at least give me some idea as to what I should be looking at here.
Well, I think there would be, with any project that has that kind of impact, I think that there is ample ability for citizens to express their opinion as part of the process. So, and we haven't even got to the development review stage at this point because they were proposing it for municipal property. So the first step was, can we get a lease from the village? But with a private landowner, there is the development review process. The development review board is an appointed board by the trustees. So we appoint people who are interested in, the interests of the village. And so they are looking after the interests of the village, but they also have a strong interest to have citizens come to the meetings to express different opinions so that they can make an informed decision. So we would encourage anybody to attend the development review board meetings if such a project were to move forward.
Thank you. That answers my question. I appreciate it.
And if there's no further discussion on that, we can move ahead with the vote, and all those in favor of postponing the meeting on the cell phone communication tower, please indicate by saying aye.
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 And is there any opposed? Okay. Thank you very much. And so, anybody who is, you can feel free to stay for the business or not, if depending on your interest in the meeting. But
I'll be signing off. I was just interested in the cell tower. Okay?
okay, thank you, Mr. Whitman.
You're
Night,
welcome.
Art.
So
Good to
long.
see you.
Good night.
Good night, Mr. Whitman.
Good night.
Okay.
Yes.
So the next order of business is to review and approve the minutes from the meeting of March 10th, 2020. Have the board members had an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. And is there any discussion or amendments to make about the minutes?
Nope.
Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from March 10th, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And there's none opposed. Okay, that.
I'm going to take my leave. A very good evening to all of you, and thank you so very much for what you do. Please stay safe and be healthy, you and your families. Take care, folks.
You too, buddy.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you. Okay, so the approval of the warrants and bills would be next. So we have, and I'll actually try and go ahead and share my screen with you all.
Whoa. Fantastic.
Not sure if anybody can, the print is kind of small here. Well, there we go.
There you go.
So we have, this is the warrant for April 7th. Any questions on any of the expenses for the month?
I would just comment that that first bill on there, the $800 to Descent Transportation, that was a check that was written before this meeting, but after the last meeting, and that was the transport of the truck that was purchased from the surplus program,
Okay,
which is why it has a different date than the rest.
Oh, okay.
going through. Have our audit here. And then these are all expenses that we see either on a monthly or bi-monthly basis to various vendors that the village has, but Reynolds and Sons.
Oh, that's a good one. That is, hold on, I have a cat in my face. That is the second half of the 4-inch hose that the fire department purchased. And
Okay.
so they have now expended their full budget for their equipment replacement.
Got it.
Okay.
The other thing I'll mention is that there is one last payment here to West Oil. Right now, we have about an $800 surplus that we've paid them, but I expect that tanks will be topped off this month. If not, if there are no other deliveries scheduled or to be received, then we'll have a little bit of a balance coming back to us.
Yep.
Or we'll just hold it for next year.
Okay.
I presume we did well with the oil this year.
It seems so, and I just started to do an analysis of this, and I believe we used a little bit less than last year. The fire department uses the bulk of it. The depot is next, and the garage is the least amount.
Yep. Thanks, Mary.
Sure. I'll share that with you when I know that we have the last delivery.
Okay, so is there a motion for payment of bills?
There is, and I'll make that motion to pay the bills.
The total is $27,809.08.
Okay, and Tara had said a second?
Yep.
Okay. And is there anyone, I think it would be easier because there is the potential to talk over one another when you're saying aye. Is there anybody opposed to the approval of that motion? Okay, then that motion carries unanimously. And the warrant, let's see here, I can share this with you too, I think. Let's see that, okay, so that's the warrant, and then we had, there we go. The payroll warrant is $6,990.85 for our 2 employees and Ms. Rogers.
And Lori.
So,
Yeah,
John, I'm not seeing that. If I could see the payroll warrant,
You can't see my screen right now?
I see the one we were looking at before, the whole warrant, the village warrant.
Oh, that's what you're seeing right now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Uh,
Let's see.
Anybody else? What do you think?
I'm just gonna stop.
Yeah, that's all I see too.
How about now?
Same one.
How about now?
That's good. I
Okay,
like that. And I will make a motion to accept that warrant, the payroll warrant for North Bennington.
I'll second that motion.
okay. Is there any discussion on the motion?
No.
Okay, and hearing none, is there anyone opposed to that motion? Hearing no opposition, that motion carries unanimously. Okay. Do we have I think we did have some, is there any citizen comments right now? Okay. And then let's move into the treasurer's report.
Okay, I sent, but after I had sent, just about an hour ago, I had sent a Word document with some notes. Just that you have that, since this is a meeting, I thought it might be helpful if everybody had some written notes in front of them. So if you've had the opportunity to go and look at your email, you'll see them. The things that were concerning for me at this point were we're into our fourth quarter. Given the economic situation, is there any risk? Is there anything that we need to look at for year end? So not necessarily in order of importance, but about the only thing that's due to the village in terms of revenue are our delinquent taxes.
And can I make just a quick comment on that section? Because I think normally I would share again that the notes that you made, but I'm actually going to ask that you had said that, I think I'd just like to summarize that you had said that you're taking that you were not actively pursuing delinquent taxes at this time just because of
Correct.
what's going on. I think that's fair, and I think the board would support that.
Yep.
And may not pursue that in May either, that you are working with the folks, so that they can make it up, but, in a reasonable schedule given what's happening right now. But I think that the way that you wrote it in the notes could potentially identify somebody because there are so few delinquent taxes. The way that you identified it in one of the individuals made it so that you could, in this public meeting, which is recorded and put on YouTube and everything, I think you could figure out who that person was, which is kind of a weird thing in Vermont, is that because of our low population, if you get enough factors, you can sometimes figure out who we're talking about. So I think I'm not going to share that document publicly, but we'll just, the other two sections you can go ahead and summarize, but that one I just wanted to jump in real quick to make sure that we didn't do that.
Perfectly fine. Really, the upshot of it is that the village, delinquent taxes to the village are about $4,300. It is not material. Of course, everything is important, but it is not material to the health and well-being of the village. It will not impact significantly our year end or anything else. More importantly, I wanted to take a look at where we might end up the year. And again, these were really notes for you guys so that you could kind of look at it. Maybe if as you went through some of the other schedules, if you had any questions. But basically, we're going to end up the year with a little bit less of a cash flow, or a little bit less of a cash balance than we have had in prior years. But I don't think there's anything at this point that is alarming to me. One of the reasons is that the last 2 years, we've had a significant amount that we carried over on highway projects. If all goes according to the preliminary forecast that I did, we're going to end up with a fund balance of $35,000. It is all in the highway. While we did the road work, because we had the carryover on that, there was some amount budgeted for culverts and for sidewalks that we didn't use. We used every bit, however, for the roads. There's a little bit left over, but there are other things, other line items within the highway that overall we may end up with, a good $30,000 to either carry forward or do something else with. And if and when it comes to that, I just put down one suggestion that I might want to talk about. The second thing is the budget is one thing, the budget status is one thing, and then the other thing that I was concerned about is just the cash flow, and that's what money do we have in the bank to pay our future bills. At this point, we'll end up with money in the bank, but it will not be enough to get us through the normal 4 months of average expenses. Not to say if we decide we need to do a big project with that highway carryover money, well, we don't have the cash in the bank to do that. That aside, It's all going to depend on what happens, in my opinion, with people getting back to work. If we still have significant unemployment, business closures, etc., middle of September when tax bills go out, I think we need to talk about, maybe we just don't expect to have people pay as timely as they used to. That said, majority of things are paid through a mortgage company, and those will be, one would assume. I've already gotten some notifications from mortgage companies requesting what the tax due date is. So I don't think we would be down to no money coming in, but I just wanted to look at what worst case scenario might be. And I think worst case scenario might be we are borrowing this year to get us through a few months.
Mary, thanks for that. I think you're right on, and as a few months go on here, we'll figure that out. I think we can be flexible with that as long as our delinquent tax collector, that is you, are willing to think about those possibilities to be flexible. That's up to you, but I think we can be flexible as a village on this stuff, and I kind of hope the banks aren't, saying that they want some time or whatever, because that sends a whole nother message. But I really appreciate your analysis of this, because it's we don't know what's going to come in the next 6 months, but I think we are all, willing to assess the situation when it comes around September, October, and figure that out. And I thank you for that. I think compassionate analysis of the situation.
Yep, and I think that borrowing in anticipation of revenues is pretty common, and
Oh yes, we've done it many times. Yep.
We have not had to do it ever since I've been here, which is almost 5 years now, but it may have to be this year. And it's not the worst thing in the world.
Not at these interest rates,
No. Heck, they may pay us to do so.
Okay, so thank you for that report. Appreciate that. And any further discussion on the treasurer's report? The highway, I've discussed with Norm a plan to make sure that they're operating in a safe way, that they're not sharing vehicles, and that they're not using the space at the same time. So they're trying to rotate days and use thorough cleaning measures at the garage to make sure that there's no spread going on there. We're lucky that we only have 2 employees in some ways, because we can limit, if we limit what our expectations are for them, then we can just have one person in at a time, basically, and have the other person on reserve. But if somebody gets sick, then that's another situation. But hopefully that doesn't occur. So we're all, Norm's in agreement that all projects are on hold at this time, and we're not going to pursue anything new in terms of construction or improvement projects. We would just do the type of maintenance that's absolutely necessary. And I don't even know if we could hire construction projects at this point because most contractors are not permitted to do that kind of work. And the Agency of Transportation's already put out a bulletin that none of the construction projects in 2020 are considered essential. So, okay, so the Development Review Board has contacted. Oh yeah, well Tara, maybe you could speak to that.
I can. We have canceled the April 21st meeting about the bakery at 23 Main Street. And there was another thing on the agenda for that meeting. I think we just weren't ready to go digital. And I don't think we can do any of that stuff right now because everyone's on hold. And I feel like there was something else. Oh, I was thinking about the discussion of the cell phone tower, but nothing will come of that until we cycle around to that. Oh, I know what it is. We are losing Charlotte Lyons as a member, and we are looking for 2, I think, because we've had 4 on the board for a while now. And I think we need to replace Charlotte and potentially get a 5th on our board if anyone knows of anyone in the village that's interested. And it's a really not too time-consuming job and that I've discovered because it's only when there are projects that come up. So put that out there for you people.
Thank you.
Oh, why did she leave?
She didn't say, she just notified me that she was stepping down.
Well, I'll have some words with her, but you know, it's her prerogative. So, yes, please, anybody who wants to do DRB, it's a fun deal, right? You know, it's fun.
It's interesting.
Okay.
And it's a good introduction, I think, to village politics as well, if you wanted to get more involved in some way.
Definitely.
Anything from the Planning Commission, Fire Department, or Water Department that anybody's aware of?
Nope.
Okay. So there were a couple items of business that I wanted to address. That one was I was notified by this. I'm going to get the acronym wrong, but the agency of environment, essentially, ANR, Agency of Natural Resources, maybe, or one of those, that there is a CAP is an action plan. I forget what the C is for, but it's an action plan for the ChemFab building. Okay, so as part of the negotiation, as part of the agreement that the state has negotiated with Saint-Gobain, there's an action plan that's been submitted for what to do with the ChemFab building. And they're asking for any public comment by April 9th, which is 2 days from now.
Yeah.
You know, they always send out the notice like before, of course. But I had stated, I think, on the record previously that my personal position would be that I would be in favor of a municipal natural area or park in that location and the complete demolition of the building. That I think that that building is a stain on the community and that it would not be something that the village would be interested in trying to redevelop in any way. And I don't think that there would be, frankly, very much interest in industrial tenants in that building after this incident. So is there some discussion on what, if any, action the board could take in terms of public comment for this proposed plan? Because as far as I understand, the plan is to clean the building and basically like tear the walls out essentially, but leave the structure.
Who owns that property now?
I think it's, I think that it's some subsidiary of Saint Gobain still.
Still, okay.
The name on their tax bill is 1030 Water Street Associates.
Okay.
Hmm.
They do pay their tax bill, and not that, we want to, I'm just mentioning this for information, but they contribute $13,000 a year with the building as is.
Nothing.
Well, so, John, I think you're on the right track here. I think, what I wouldn't want to see is us proposing a complete tear down of the building. And if that meant they didn't have to do the cleanup on the inside before they do that, I mean, it almost gives them a clean slate to just demolish the thing and let the dust settle wherever it does.
Well, my understanding of it, if the site's been designated like this one has,
Yep.
the process for removal would be that there would be a complete demolition, but all of the material and soil would have to be removed from the site.
Nice.
And certainly anything short of that wouldn't be acceptable to us.
So are we talking about just the red building, the newer part of the structure from Water Street, and from the corner up to the old building?
Yes, I think it would just be the metal sided part of it.
Okay. No, I don't see anything else happening there, and as long as it can be removed responsibly, that would be my proposal and recommendation.
Is there any other comment from the board?
My only other comment would be, if it were revitalized, might it add more, to our grand list? Could it be are they looking at revitalizing it for a better purpose, or just simply leaving it there as a vacant building?
I think the latter. I think the proposal as is basically scrub down the walls or scrape down the walls and just leave it as is and see if somebody wants to buy it.
Mm.
And that just, I agree with you that it would be wonderful if there could be some sort of repurposing and sort of try and create something good out of something bad. But I think that I'm just afraid that we're just going to have this building just sitting in the state that it is from the outside for the next 10, 15 years or more.
Would
not a very good introduction to the village as you drive in.
Correct, but would they request that the village purchase the building and the lot then? Who would still own it as a vacant lot?
I think
who would control it?
We could take possession of the property or purchase the property, whatever, but that the agreement would stipulate that we would only take control of it in a natural state, not before it's demolished. We would take it after it's been removed. Now, this is,
and without obligation to any future, determination of, toxic or contamination or whatever, right? I mean, is this a brown site now, or is it how?
That's a different, so that was a different email that I got last month, which is that if, each year, all kinds of sites that have chemical histories can be considered for brownfield designation, and that's certainly one of them, I would think.
So we're not even there yet.
Right.
We're already in this massive, situation, but there's been no designation of the condition of the property, so that So from the perspective of the people trying to mitigate the problem, they could either clean it or demolish it and then pass it off as a viable place to do business or have a park or whatever. I mean,
I think that right now it's a negotiation between the private owner and the state, which has this corrective action plan proposed. So, and the public's allowed to comment on this private deal between the state and the private entity. So I would like to comment on it. I honestly don't think that they're going to say, oh yeah, okay, we'll just remove everything and make it a park for you. What my hope is that if we send a strong message as part of this public comment, that the state will engage more with us because we really have been kind of out of the loop in that conversation.
Right.
And I'm hoping that they will say, well, what's your goal here? And then we can tell them what our goal is, and then maybe they can advocate more on our behalf.
right. So your proposal is to, the next 2 days to tell them where we're at on this, or?
Well, what I was thinking was that what I was wondering is if the board was willing to adopt a resolution tonight that said that we would like to see that property either revitalized significantly or completely demolished and removed, and not just, cleaned up, clean the walls and just leave it sitting
Right.
as a vacant property. So, and I think that I can write a letter on behalf of the board
Mm-hmm.
if we make a motion to that effect, but we obviously haven't written out a specific resolutions to pass, but I can write a letter on behalf of the board if we adopt the basic position that I've stated.
That makes sense to me, John.
Okay, is there?
Yes, if I think that's a great proposal, and I thank you for doing that, and that's where we're at.
Okay,
You've thought it through.
I really don't want to exercise that kind of discretion unless the board is in favor of it.
Right there.
I'm in favor of you fashioning it. I'd love to be able to read it before it's sent out, though.
Of course, definitely.
Okay.
Okay.
So I will make that proposal or that motion as long as we can see it before you send it, but we have 2 days to send it, so.
And is there a second?
Yes.
Okay, and any opposed to that motion? Okay, no opposition, that's a unanimous. And the second item was a village website. Obviously, we were a little late to the party on that one, but luckily the fund has been very good to us in terms of posting information. But it would have been really great to have our website up and running last year instead of working on getting it going now. But that said, I think it would be great to get maybe it should go through a bid process just because it is going to be an ongoing expense. It's not a large cost even up front, but still, I think, if over the course of some years it might be more than $5,000, we might want to do a bid process at the beginning. So I would propose that we make a motion tonight to make a request for proposals for a village or municipal website. And there actually is one that I found, if people want to take a look at the town of Woodstock's website, they have a really great website. There's a couple other towns in Vermont, but actually, if you, let me see if I can. Hold on just a second. See if I can share my screen with you. There.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I think so. This was, and this is, so this website has, you know, all the necessary information, and I think it's optimized for mobile devices,
Mhm.
so that if you're looking at this on a phone, it looks just as good, even perhaps better
Mhm.
than what it's looking like here. But you have this, you know, a rotating banner that has a, you know, different pictures that you can put there. This actually wasn't the picture that was there the last time I looked. Oh, maybe I can.
You can do another one there, yep.
But you know, hours of operation, announcements, all that kind of stuff, and then you know, this information obviously would be very important for us to have on our website if we had one. We do, and the fund has posted that for us, but you know, this is not our website, and we're not in control of this. So even though we have that great relationship, I think it's important that we act independently.
John, do you know the developer of that site? Or is that someone who does multiple municipal sites or?
I think, you know, obviously probably the first step would be to see who does Bennington's site, and ask whether they're satisfied with theirs.
Yeah,
I don't have, it doesn't look like,
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's
I'm not very happy with Bennington site, I will say. I find it complicated, and I've tried many times to navigate different elements of the you know, the municipal government. And I'm certainly willing to look at other ones, but yes, we need to do this. We need to pay for it because, you know, this stuff isn't free.
this is my hometown
And
here, Royalton, Vermont, which it looks like it's the same web
wow,
developer.
I'm thinking it is.
So, and this is kind of oriented around a municipality because, you know, your drop downs here are,
Yep.
so that,
Yep.
I can easily contact the select board in Royalton and see who they use.
So I think we need to move forward with this very quickly and obviously, and authorize you to find a suitable or possible person to bid on this. But you're probably right. This could end up being $5,000 a year kind of thing for someone who's going to keep it updated and all that. So,
And I think it's not
that's my proposal.
I think we don't have to make a motion just because we're not proposing spending any money at this point. We're just asking for proposals. So what I'll do is I'll try to get, you know, multiple bids by the next meeting, if
Yeah.
possible. So I'll look for a bid from that person that developed those websites, maybe, you know, a couple local people, and go from there.
We should probably also find out or include in our bid that if we want that developer or host person to then upload our monthly content, because they could send a reminder as to, okay, it's now X number of days, I need this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Because we are not ourselves going to be uploading new content, correct or not?
Well, I think that you would have the option in some areas to upload things. So there would be places that you could, but then there would be, statutory requirements in terms of posting of minutes and warnings and things like that that you wouldn't want to just leave to
Right.
chance, essentially. Or
Right, I guess, so what I'm wondering is, we just would have to make sure that when we're talking about to whomever, that we clarify exactly what we want them to do when and for how long.
yeah, and I think that's why I would probably stick with somebody that's done a municipal website before in Vermont, because they would know that there are requirements for posting of minutes and things. So
Yes,
And as long as there's a point person locally who's willing to do that, diligence with the requirements, statute,
right.
posting and all that. If not, pay them to do all of it. You don't
Okay.
want to mess up with that.
Great. And so the last thing that I had was, I do want to propose to spend a little money, which is, I really think that it is important, if possible, to increase the wireless signal at the depot, so that if someone wanted to drive up into the parking lot of the train depot, that they could access municipal wireless there without, we could either put the password in the window so that they'd have it, or there was no password. But I think it's important that we provide municipal Wi-Fi. And I don't think that our router is quite capable. I mean, maybe if you're sitting right outside the window, but I think it would be good that people could drive up, especially if they have a kid that needs to complete assignments or something like that. They don't have a solid internet connection at home that they're able to do that.
So what do you propose?
So I would ask if we want to look at the routers either online, or if we want to have Norm look at them, seeing as he is in the office at least some of the time. But if somebody has technical savvy, maybe they could take the lead on that, or if not, we can just have Norm give us a few proposals.
I'd be happy just to call our Comcast and see what they can do.
Okay, that would
We
be
already have bundled service.
Is that who put those in there?
Yes,
well. So and that would be great. I don't know if they have they may be able to give us some suggestion. I think I have Comcast service as well, and what I was told was that they have routers from Comcast that they will provide to you, and then there are other third-party Wi-Fi routers that you can purchase for more money, but that have a much stronger signal that will go further. So that's more what I was thinking, but I don't know. Especially as a business customer, we might have more options, and maybe they would be able to give us information.
do you want me to just call and find out?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thanks, Mary.
Okay. So if we are able to, before the next meeting, I would entertain a motion to purchase a wireless router for the depot, with the expectation that it would improve wireless signal for the public there in that location.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Is there any objection to that motion being passed? There is no objection, and the motion so carries. Okay, that's all I have.
Excuse me, John.
Yes.
You have one more thing. Kevin's.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I sent that out earlier. Kevin's has requested an outdoor seating permit. How we handled that last year, I believe, was just it was just a approval of the board. So somebody that falls within an area that through our charter, that it's something that we designate, that if somebody has outdoor seating, that we're the ones that approve that.
Mhm.
The hiccup, if people recall from last year, was that if there's alcohol being served, that's a state thing that the Department of Liquor Control does, and the town of Bennington does, but the outdoor seating part is something that the village does. So I would entertain a motion to approve the outdoor seating at Kevin's with, of course, following any guidance from the Department of Health and the governor's orders that, they're not going to be operating when you're not supposed to be. So,
Well, can we
Sorry.
make that as a motion that affects all businesses in the village? I mean, I've just heard that other business in the village didn't get that same memo from the state.
okay.
I'm wondering is this just about Kevin's, or is it a statewide?
only- Kevin's is the only one that has requested this from
Okay.
us. So, I think if other entities think they fall within a different, exception to that rule, then that might be different. But, if you have a enclosed structure or something like that, I'm thinking like the patio in back of Pangea, that's not gonna fall within.
No, that's already within that realm, but in front of a business on a
Right.
sidewalk or on a porch, the private part of that business, my understanding is they got a very different message from the state regarding what they can and cannot do. And I don't know if that's within our realm to advocate for or what.
Is that concerning their alcohol or just the
Yes.
service at all?
Alcohol.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's something that we can.
Exactly. So what you're asking for Kevin's is are they able to serve? Are you asking, are they able to serve food?
Correct, just food, yeah.
Okay. And then,
Outdoor dining, I think, is how you would say it.
okay. And then they have to go to the state for the other part? For the alcohol part?
I think Bennington's liquor control officer or something. But
Yep.
his authority is derived from the state, I think, the state liquor control.
All right.
Is this gonna be a yearly thing? Did we
really?
not approve them last year? Or I thought they were serving outside last year and
They
they're
were.
asking again to do it?
Correct.
Do they have to ask us every year if they can do this?
I have not looked into that.
Okay.
I mean, they are doing it annually, so that's great. And if they ask for something different than that, then we can consider it. But at this point, they're just asking for this year.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. I'm okay with that. Do we have to?
Yeah, I think that would be one where we'd need to have a motion and approval.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it, but do they still have to come to the DRB? Because we had a meeting about this last year with the DRB too.
I think that there was a meeting, but it was determined that it wasn't necessary.
Okay.
That's my recollection, is that we thought it might be a DRB issue, but then it wasn't.
Okay.
All right.
Then I'll second his motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? And any objection? There's no objection, so that motion carries. Any further business?
Nope.
Okay. Then is there a motion to adjourn?
There is, except I want to say this was a lot of fun. I love watching y'all just, what fun is this? Let's do
But
this.
you're all in the, you're in the dark.
Shadow,
Well,
yeah.
I'm in the
Yeah, we
dark
can
now. I
see
wasn't
you.
before. Come on now. I'm there. Anyway, yes. What fun. And
Well, and I do think that this could potentially work for an annual meeting. We had, I think, 12 people on at one point, but, if
No, we
we
gotta-
had 50, I don't know how it would hold up, but hopefully it would. And I would like to proceed with the annual meeting next month if possible, because I think it's important that for the village that we have approval from the voters for the budget. I don't think this is the time to try and, pass any projects or anything like that. And we've already discussed that, and that's in the report, is that this is really a rebuilding year, if you will, that we're just kind of laying low this year anyways and just doing sort of our usual business. So we don't anticipate any major projects, and we wouldn't. We're fortunate in that way that we're not looking to the voters to approve any major projects.
No, but John, I think I would like to believe that, in the next month or two, even if we're talking into early June, we could actually have a meeting of, a real meeting of people. I don't think this is the way to do it for that kind of thing. If it comes to that, fine, but you're not going to get more than 10 people participating. Not that we get more than 20 or 30, at an annual meeting, but I think let's postpone that decision for another month and see where we're at.
Okay, yeah, well, I mean, we can always do what we did tonight in a month.
Yep. And it was pretty good. We got, worked out.
But if we do want to try to proceed with it, I think it need to be a lot better about the notice, though.
That's correct. We got to put it up there. And as time goes on, I think more and more adults are going to become more familiar with this format. This is the first time I ever did it.
Well, you could certainly make this an option this has been for the last 10 years or so, this has been an option for select boards to have this in addition to the in-person meeting, and we could always have this as a supplement to our regular meetings anyways.
Right.
So.
Good point.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting tonight, and hope
Is
we'll
there a
see
second?
you on the other side.
We have a second? Okay, and
See you later.
everyone in favor? Thank you so much.
Leon, good to see you, man.
Night,
Yep.
everyone.
Good night.
Bye.